Chapter 1. What is depression? This book is not an attempt to bring a clinical diagnosis for your condition, nor is it a layman's guide to psychiatry in 3 easy lessons, but simply a jargon-free attempt to explain how you might be feeling and what you might do to help you get better. If this is the first time you have faced this situation, it might have crept up on you over a period of time. If you have been feeling down for 4 weeks or more, with feelings of hopelessness and despair, as if the future is not worth living, then you are probably clinically depressed. You should definitely make an appointment to see your GP at the first opportunity. Do not make the mistake of thinking that you will sort it out on your own. If you could have done that already, you would not still be feeling as you do and would probably not be reading this book. You might think, because you are a Christian, you should never become depressed, or that it is all your own fault, or even that this has happened because of some unconfessed sin in your life. Spend a few moments in prayer, considering if there is some aspect of your behaviour, habits, or relationships that could be wrong. Ask God to reveal anything that is wrong, then confess it and move on in your thoughts. We will come back to this in a later chapter, but for now it will be less than helpful for you to continue to be preoccupied with what you may or may not have done wrong. Beat yourself up over your perceived failure and then decide that you are not worthy to ever get well again. As a Christian, you might only want to look for a miraculous recovery from your depression. In your church, the leaders might teach that if you are a Christian, you should never get sick, and that if the unthinkable ever happens to you, the only valid healing is a miraculous overnight one. The fact is that all true healing is valid, whether healing for a physical illness happens instantly or even overnight, or if someone has a psychosomatic illness which gradually gets better through prayer and counselling, it is no less a healing. If a Christian has a headache and takes something as basic as an aspirin, should he be guilt-ridden or experience regret? When we read in the Bible, Mark 8, verse 22, about the blind man being healed at a place called Bethsaida, I do not remember the man receiving the healing being disappointed that it took 2 goes before he was healed, or even whether he was disappointed that something as basic as spit was involved. What about the man born blind, described in John chapter 9, verse 1? For his healing, Jesus not only spat on the ground, but also made mud and applied it to his eyes. Then, for the final stage of the healing, this man, who had only been used to begging before, had to go and wash in the pool at Shiloh before he came home seeing. It should be noted that everyone around this man had an opinion about his situation. At the beginning, the disciples wanted Jesus to confirm that this man's blindness was due to sin, either his own sin or his parents' sin. But Jesus very clearly stated that sin was not the issue here. Then, after the healing, his neighbours concluded that this was not the same man who had come back healed. It only looked like the man. For the neighbours, it was easier to invent an identical twin for this man than it was to accept that he was now healed. For the Pharisees standing by, the main issue was all this healing had happened on the Sabbath, which was unlawful. But what about the parents? They could only say, "We know he is our son. We know he was born blind." But now how can he see now? Or who opened his eyes? We don't know. Ask him. For them, the issue was not how or even how long, but the facts spoke for themselves. They knew their son was healed. They directed their focus on the main thing. So, if you are a Christian who is struggling with depression, do not get caught up with anything other than the main thing. Do not become obsessed about how long you have been depressed, or whether it was caused by sin, or whether your healing and recovery will only be worthwhile if it happens instantly after some well-known person has prayed for you. It might come as a surprise to you to discover that most Christians, myself included, believe that God has given many gifts to his church, and some of them are called doctors. If Jesus could use mud, I don't have a problem believing that God could also use a doctor to help you get better. Do not put it off even one day longer. Put this book down now and make that appointment. Done that? Good. Now you have taken control of that, you can carry on reading. People put off that step for all sorts of reasons, but none of them will help you get better, which is what we are working together to achieve. If, up until now, you have avoided seeing your doctor, your reason may be that you are simply too depressed to get up in the morning to phone the doctor's surgery. Well, try phoning in the afternoon, or checking if there is a mental health team listed in your phone book where you could phone and arrange for someone to see you. On the other hand, it may be that you feel ashamed that you are depressed and you think you should be able to pull yourself together or get out of it. You may feel that your doctor is going to judge you as being somehow weak because you are feeling as you do. Can I ask you whether you would consider going to see the doctor if you had a sore throat or a broken leg? Most people would try to cure the sore throat for a few days themselves before consulting a doctor. If they had a broken leg, they would make a hospital visit right away if they wanted to get better. Neither scenario would get better if they waited 6 weeks, just hoping it would sort itself out. With problems of depression, you should no more feel ashamed or embarrassed than you would do if you had a broken leg and needed medical treatment. One of the facts about depression is that it will make you feel isolated, as if you are not worthy to take part in life, as if no one has ever felt the way you do. The truth is that if you were to conduct a survey of the whole population, around 1 in 3 people would say they've struggled with feelings of depression at one time or another, and the other 2 out of 3 people may not be telling the truth. You may feel that the doctor will not be caring or understanding, or not know how to help you. The truth is that your GP may have already seen 3 or 4 patients today before you arrived with varying symptoms of depression, and has probably put a plan of care into action for each one of them. So why should you be any different? You may be afraid that because you feel so low, you may not be able to get your words out without crying when you finally get to see your doctor. If that is the fear which prevents you getting to see your GP, then look at the possibility of taking a close friend or family member with you for emotional support. Or, if you prefer to go alone, write down a few lines on a piece of paper explaining how you are feeling and how long you have been feeling this way, and pass this to the doctor as you sit down. Make sure it is just a few lines though, not a sequel to War and Peace. Your doctor will probably have a surgery full of patients waiting to see him, and if you give him a few clues, he will know which questions to ask you in order to arrive at the correct diagnosis. Consider writing something like this. I have been depressed since February. I have panic attacks if I am left on my own. I am not sleeping or eating well. I have stopped meeting up with my friends. I can't face going to work. Armed with this information, your doctor should be able to point you in the direction of the help you are likely to need. Do not come out of the surgery disappointed if you have not been given a prescription for medication. Your doctor may feel that the best course of action for you is some counselling or talking therapy. Do not think that your doctor is not up to the job if he's referred you to see someone else. He will almost certainly want you to have some routine blood tests, just to ensure that there is no underlying physical reason for your depression, such as underactive thyroid function. If he has decided that you need to see a specialist at a hospital or mental health team, he has taken that decision based on all the facts available, and because he wants you to see the person most likely to have the training and the time available to be able to help you. Just make sure you keep the appointment when it arrives, even if you had to wait longer than you would like. On the other hand, Your GP may prescribe some tablets which he thinks could help you. Make sure you take them regularly, and he will also probably suggest that you go back in a few weeks to check that the tablets are working for you. Do keep this next appointment. There are lots of different types of medications available, and those which work for one person do not necessarily help another with similar symptoms. If you have ever tried taking the tablets for 3 or 4 weeks without feeling any better, do not make the mistake of delaying returning to see your doctor, thinking that you will never get better or that tablets are not the answer. Your doctor may want you to keep on taking the original tablets, or he may feel that there are others which would be more helpful. He will only be able to make the right decision for you if you keep all your appointments. There are some people who have severe depression because of some kind of chemical imbalance in the brain. The most important thing is for them to achieve a sense of well-being so that they are able to function in a positive way each day, rather than having fluctuating highs and lows in their moods. Once they have been prescribed the correct medication which helps them balance their mood swings, it is vital that they always remember to keep taking their tablets rather than taking them only when they feel like it. Much as was written in the media many years ago about the dangers of antidepressants becoming addictive. But if you are one of this group of patients, it is essential that once you have discovered the right medication to help you, you do not stop taking it or reduce the dose without your doctor agreeing that you do so. Otherwise, you may well go back to square one and be facing the same battle again with your depression. Most specialists dealing with patients suffering from depression seem to agree that the best course of treatment is a mixture of tablets and talking therapies. However, with mental health services stretched to breaking point, there is likely to be a delay of around 2 months even for an initial assessment. Then to see a counsellor there may be an even longer waiting list. If you have been prescribed tablets and referred on for counselling, just because there is a delay, do not decide not to keep your counselling appointment. It may be critical for your long-term recovery that you have the opportunity to talk things through with someone. Even if you are feeling a bit better, by the time your appointment arrives, do not cancel it, because as you talk things through, you may discover what triggered your depression this time, and more importantly, what might help you to prevent another bout of depression in the future. If you're involved in a church family, it could be helpful if you talk to your church minister or house group leader about how you are feeling. At the very least, you would expect him or her to be able to pray that you will get better. He may also be able to give you details of a professionally organised Christian counselling organisation in your area. If you talk to your minister, you might be pleasantly surprised about how much helpful advice he is able to give you as well as praying for you. However, if you are unable to approach your church minister and talk to him, or if he seems less than interested or is unwilling to help you through this time, then this is something you may need to think about for the future. Now is probably not the time to jump ship and look for a different church. Hopefully you will have 1 or 2 good friends who are part of that church family you've been involved with, and to remove yourself from their friendship, influence and encouragement might not be the best thing for you while you are recovering from depression. Above all, do not allow the enemy to plant the thought in your mind that you are unlovable or that this depression or any other problem in your life has only happened to you because God does not love you. As a Christian, you should know already that Jesus came so that you could enjoy life to the full. But you should also be aware that you have an enemy described in John chapter 10 verse 10 as a thief who comes only to kill, steal and destroy. Nowhere is the evidence of the devil's handiwork more obvious than in the area of mental health. Recognize that he comes to steal your peace of mind and joy, to kill your hope and sense of purpose, and to destroy your faith that God is working things out for your good. Again in John chapter 8 verse 44, The Bible talks about the devil being a liar and the father of lies. By his very nature, he will tell you lies. That is his mission statement, if you like. From the minute you get up till the minute you go to bed at night, he will try his very best to get you to believe his lies. He will then try to keep you awake when you are trying to get to sleep, worrying about all manner of things. Do not be surprised when he tells you things like God doesn't love you, or this would not be happening to you, or you will never get better, or even you are hopeless and no one likes you. But as a child of God, you do not have to agree with the devil and his lies. Instead, you must focus on the truth of what God says in his word and in the completed work of Jesus on the cross, where he paid the full total price for you to complete forgiveness, healing and wholeness. The whole of Scripture paints a picture of a God who loves you completely and who wants you to be well again. Some goals for you. Firstly, to talk to your church minister. Secondly, to see your GP and tell him how you feel. Thirdly, to take your prescribed medication regularly. Fourthly, to have any tests your doctor arranges and to keep any follow-up appointments. Fifthly, to write out the first few verses of Psalm 23, at the same time underlying the words, "He restores my soul." That's the end for today. If you really are feeling depressed, please do seek help. Go to the Samaritans if you are struggling, and we'll be back with some more tomorrow. Yeah, it's not very good. I hadn't read stuff before like that, and I got mixed up with words. Is that going to be a problem? And then of course my phone went off.